First of all, thank you so much, Jennifer. So honored to be here today. And certainly, I literally spent 15 years in a corporate career at the Coca-Cola Company in many diverse roles such as strategy, revenue growth management, marketing, working with our bottling partners. My last role was as a global director of strategy and innovation for the McDonald's division, where I had accountability for the Asia Pacific, EMEA, and Latin America business units. And so certainly enjoyed my time. But one of the things that I was really very proud of during my time in corporate is that I did a lot of work with our women's business resource group, ultimately serving as the vice president of the women's BRG, and really wanted to give women more opportunities to have leadership roles at the Coca-Cola Company. And so with that, I realized that I had a true passion for wanting to make not only the workplace more equitable, but also to make it more equitable for diverse suppliers to have an opportunity to work with Fortune 500 companies. So in 2017, after 15 amazing years in corporate, I decided to take a chance on myself and launch my own tech consultancy, Monica Motivates Enterprise, where I really work with Fortune 500 companies to really help them look at how they are positioning themselves when it comes to equity in the organization, but also as we're embracing new technologies such as artificial intelligence or AI, making sure that we're really doing it in a bias-free way. So tilt is really about tilting or shifting the odds for women in business in their favor. And so literally many times we go into our corporate careers just wanting to work very hard and really do a good job with it, which is very commendable. But there's so many other strategies for managing a successful career. And what tilt does is tilt is a playbook to be able to really shift those odds in your favor so that you're not just coming in thinking that just working hard is all there is to your career, but really making sure that you're adding things to your toolbox, such as managing your brand effectively, such as making sure that you know about the advantages of having a sponsor in an organization, a mentor in an organization, and those who are truly advocating for you to really be successful. And so with that, we named the book Tilt really because it's not just a straight line to success in corporate America or running a business, but there truly are many strategies that you have to really embrace if you're going to have a long-term successful career. This is actually my third book. So my first two books I self-published. So this is my first book that I have worked with a publisher on. So this is actually my third book. And what I wanted to do, Jennifer, is actually combine the best of my experiences from both corporate America and as an entrepreneur. So I know sort of have a unique perspective of understanding both lenses with having a successful corporate career and then stepping out and running a firm that is here in the United States, office in London, and of course in Singapore. And so with that said, really the true emphasis and passion behind this is because I encountered so many challenges, that were unspoken, no one talked about during my corporate career. Like, how do I successfully let people know that I'm ready for a new opportunity? How do you manage unconscious biases in the workplace? How do you really make sure that you're negotiating your salary and really knowing your worth in the arena? But it's the same for when you go out and start your own business. How do you make sure you're branding yourself properly? Really making sure you have a solid strategy, building those strategic partnerships with Fortune 500 companies. And so literally, I was really inspired to bring bring the best of both worlds together. So whether you are a corporate professional or whether you are someone who is running your own business, Tilt offers strategies for both of those audiences, specifically women and women of color. And then, of course, we want our male advocates and allies to read Tilt, because we certainly know that we need our male allies to continue to advocate women, both in corporate America and then also for female entrepreneurs. I really think that, some of the major challenges that I had to overcome was being underestimated, right? And so really individuals, thinking that, okay, she's going to be in this role and we're going to, keep her in this role for 5 to 7 years before she gets her next promotion. But I've always been someone who always betted on myself, always wanted to continue to develop, always wanted to make sure that I was becoming the best professional version of me. And so certainly when people put you in their particular box, just due to natural unconscious biases that happen, but also, really understanding that there are instances where I'm not in the room where decisions are made. So I happen to not like golfing. And so I remember when I was on a team where the majority of the team members would go golfing over the weekend. I am a mother of two kids. So I was really at my kids' activities on the weekend. And so coming back every Monday morning to the meeting and hearing about everything that happened on the golf course, knowing that that was just a club that I would never really be in, because my priorities were to be at my kids' activities. So certainly, being included, feeling like you're included in the workplace, and that inclusive aspect was something that I certainly experienced. And then I would also say just realizing that, it is so much harder to navigate a career as a woman of color. And so literally having to just make sure that everything is perfect, everything that you do almost has to be 150%. And that is something that is sort of looked over in the workplace. But when you go and you are up for new opportunities, well, Monica, here's one gap that we see. But then when you see that your white male counterpart is not receiving that same level of feedback or granular looking at their resume and background, you start to really understand that certainly these biases are playing out in the workplace. But with that said, there still are a lot of great things that go on in corporate America. I really did have an overall very positive career for my 15 years. And one of the things I always tell people is that you really own your career. And I always will be grateful for my time at the Coca-Cola Company. But more than that, I also will be grateful for all of the key learnings that I am able to share now with each of you when it comes to really overcoming some of those major challenges and adversities that each of us face day to day. Something happening naturally as opposed to being forced. And so if you look at a company's overall strategic plan for the year, and you can see that inclusivity is really something that is mentioned multiple times throughout the strategic plan, then it's not being forced. It's something that's coming from the C-suite to everyone in the organization. What I will say is that another thing about organic inclusivity is talking to employees to understand the culture. And so when you start to look at, overall engagement reports, and you see that engagement scores are not where they need to be when people are talking about belonging, when they're talking about having gender equity, when they're feeling like pay equity is not there in the organization. So those are the types of things that will help you understand if you have organic inclusivity. Now, if you are not doing so well in that area, that doesn't mean that you're a failure as an organization. It means that there is a time to reassess and look at what are your employees telling you. Read the data, listen to both the qualitative comments that are being made, and then look at some of the quantitative metrics that are surfacing up from these surveys. Because what you'll find is that everyone is on a journey, whether you are very well far along on the change management curve, or whether you're just beginning your journey to become a more inclusive organization. We do tell our key clients and partners that there's no wrong space to be if you at least are saying, I acknowledge that I want to have a more inclusive workplace, whether you're doing really well or whether you're at that very infancy state of it. So certainly forced inclusivity is something that people recognize, and you start to see that with lack of retention of employees who don't feel like they belong. And in these exit interviews, you get really key clues as to why individuals are saying, well, it really was not an inclusive experience for me. I never felt like I belonged. And so, you have to really take that, that feedback. What I will say about my time as an employee is that I really appreciated all of the employee resource groups. I really appreciated all the tools that were put in place to really help women succeed in corporate America. And so certainly everyone's experience is going to be unique to them. But what I will say is certainly you will know immediately if there's organic inclusivity in the workplace just by talking to the employees. There were two sections that were hard for me. One was the section on perfectionism and overcoming the imposter syndrome, because I know that hits home to so many women who literally, even if they're in the C-suite, feel like they don't belong, or a very highly capable young woman just getting out of university, starting her first corporate job, and then questioning, do I belong here? Am I good enough? And so that one really was hard to write because it's a common theme that I heard from so many women during my time in corporate, and now as an entrepreneur that I continue to hear from both corporate women and entrepreneur females. And so as I wrote that chapter and I was really analyzing it, one of the things that I really saw as a common theme is that, Monica, I have to be perfect for things to go well. And literally just that overcoming that perfectionism mindset, because obviously perfectionism also leads to being very risk adverse. And when we talk about some of the tools and strategies for success in the workplace, then you really are going to have to take some risk in your career. And you really are going to have to do some things that are very uncomfortable and are stretching you well out of your comfort zone. But many of us want to play it safe because perfectionism leads to us, being able to feel like we're in control and to literally sort of project how we're going to do at an assignment. So that one was really hard for me. And the second one that was really hard was really racism in the workplace. And this one, as we continue to see the number of Fortune 500 CEOs, where there continues to be not a lot of diversity in the C-suite, and then also not a lot of diversity on the boards of publicly traded companies. So whether here in the United States, whether on the London Stock Exchange, we really don't see the diversity that we want to see because we really are running into challenges of where individuals are qualified for the roles, but they are not being given the opportunities to serve on those boards or to run those multinational companies. And so as I wrote that chapter and really hearing about people's lived experiences, it was a very painful chapter because it was bringing up, a lot of things that people did not want to talk about. but things that were definitely going on in the workplace, whether it was microaggressions, unconscious bias, whether it was blocking someone from an opportunity. These are all people's real lived experiences. And until we start being very transparent that racism still does exist in the workplace, we're going to continue to not see the trajectory that we want to see of moving forward with additional women in the C-suite, with additional women of color in the C-suite, because these factors will continue to hold us back. So as I wrote Tilt, I started off with one position is that success is if you make it to the C-suite. As I ended Tilt, what I realized is that the definition of success for every single woman who contributed to this book, every piece of research that I did, is completely different. And so what I want women to take from this book is not that you have to run to the C-suite to be a successful corporate professional, or you have to become the next unicorn or our IPO if you're going to be the next successful business owner. What I want you to take is to run your own race and literally walk in your own authentic purpose, because really the tools in this book are really going to help you really do some self-analysis, to go inside and do some deep work, but also to really write down what is Jennifer's definition of success for her career and how does she want to manage that. What we see far too much of, Jennifer, is that people who are very unhappy in their careers and are just, passing the time by and just sort of exchanging their time for their paycheck. What we want to see more of is people who are thriving in their careers, no matter what level. But if they do want to have the ability to go to that next level, to mid-management, to senior level director or VP, we want to make sure that that is an option. Because what we have found is that in many instances, it doesn't even seem like that option is on the table for women and women of color. I actually started this book during the height of the pandemic in 2020. And so I ended up with, when the whole world shut down, I ended up with all of this extra time that I did not anticipate having. And so when I started Tilt, I really wanted this to sort of be a game changer book for women in corporate America and women in business. What I realized as I was going on the journey with Tilt is that everyone is coming to the workplace or to their business with a completely different perspective. And so I approached it initially with a one size fits all strategy, right? And then as I started doing a lot of interviews and you'll see a lot of those reflected in the book, some of the different interviews that we've done with business women and with entrepreneurs, is that it truly was an interesting time to write the book where people were really questioning, what is my new North Star? I have thought that this is what I wanted to do. And so what I really found throughout this is people really wanted to do more purpose-driven work. They didn't want to just keep doing stuff that was just all about accolades and the amount of money that was being thrown at them, but making sure that they led with purpose and knowing that the financial rewards would follow. And so in the middle of writing the book, the Great Resignation happened, where individuals were leaving corporations to go and do more purposeful work that they wanted to do. But also what happened was this reckoning where people were like, I want to do something that I don't care what anyone else thinks about me making this decision. And so I don't care if you're judging me for wanting to go for that C-suite position, or I don't care if you're judging me for wanting to start my own business. And I think that was something that as I reflected on the 4 years that it took to begin Tilt and finally to get to publication, is that many women had silenced their inner voice for so long. And the pandemic helped them to really unleash that voice again and to really start doing the work to say, what do I really want to do with my career professionally? And then what do I also want? What boundaries do I want to have so I can also still enjoy my personal life? And so those are the things that going into it, I had no clue that I was going to go on that journey because I thought that I was going to have a month off at most with the pandemic. Didn't realize it was going to end up being 2 years, not off, but just where everything was just very still and we're sort of lockdown. But those were some of the key things that came out during that time. I really think that diversity, equity, inclusion is not just important in the workplace. It is absolutely a non-negotiable in the workplace. And if you really want to have not only a culture that's thriving, but also have the best business results that you can have, you're going to need diverse perspectives. And the research has shown many times over that organizations that have more diverse boards of directors from not just thought leadership, but also from gender representation on the board, from ethnicity representation on the board, LGBTQ representation on the board, people with visible and invisible disabilities on the board. All those things matter because all of these lived experiences offer you such diverse perspectives when having to make very critical decisions that are impacting your stakeholders, impacting your consumers, but most importantly, impacting your employees. And so when we think about, how the DEI narrative was so highlighted with the tragic killing of George Floyd, we saw so many organizations and corporations stop and reflect and say, wow, we need to do more work in this area. What has happened recently is that, depending on where you are in the world, some organizations are continuing to really make it at the forefront, while others are silently walking away from it. And we're seeing many DEI roles being challenged and DEI budgets being cut. And so if we continue to operate in that direction, we do see the younger generations, Gen Z, basically saying, listen, I'm going to spend with your organization based on the diversity that you have on your board, the diversity of your employees, the diversity of your C-suite. And so this will eventually start catching up to organizations who are not embracing it, because as more and more of the younger generations start having the spending power to really impact the bottom lines, they are not going to want to just spend with organizations who are doing the status quo, but literally with those who are making sure they're taking the time to connect with their consumer, not just by wanting them to spend with their organization, but also by wanting to invest in their local communities, to make sure that they are hiring in the local communities, and then bringing in the best talent in the communities. And so it is a discussion that will go on for many, many, many years beyond Tilt. But I do think that Tilt really plants that seed to say, hey, we have to keep the gas to the pedal, because it is so critical that this issue is not put on the back burner, because the companies that get and embrace DEI, in the next 20 years, you're going to see that those companies are the ones who are outperforming their peers because they really didn't walk away from it. And so I tell organizations, you can either be reactive to DEI and do it when it's in the headlines, or you can really be an organization that is truly being reflective and strategic, and making sure that it is ingrained in your strategy always. And it is always mentioned in your CEO's remarks in your annual report because it is part of the company's ingrained culture. Piece of advice is to find out what you want. Not what anyone else wants for your career. Find out what is your purpose. What is your purpose that you are coming to work for each day? So really, I tell people to take the time to pause and to really do that work to say, what is my career to date? What has it been to date? And where am I looking to go over the next 3 to 5 years? And what I would say is that it's not just a check in a box of like, well, I'm in this role now, so my next role is this role, or my next role is this role. It may be I'm in this role and I don't want to be in this role anymore. I'm ready for a career shift. And then start really, having honest dialogues with yourself. Get a mentor. A mentor is someone who you can have very confidential conversations with, who can listen and give you, really great advice on some of the things that you are bouncing back to them. And as you're navigating this, you're going to find that if you're doing something that you feel connected to day in and day out, you won't really experience that burnout or that regret on Sunday of like, I'm feeling really not good about Monday, because that's not what you want to really do, or you're not in the right role. I don't necessarily recommend like just going in and changing companies immediately, because I love the great stuff that John Lewis is doing and all these other organizations who are committed to doing the work on DEI and inclusiveness. What I would say is look in your organization and see, is there someone who's doing what you want to do, and start going and doing your job shadow. But most importantly, make sure that you're taking the time to walk in your authentic purpose, that you are saying that this is something that I want to do. Because what we find at the end of many people's careers is that someone else has told them for many years what their next role was going to be, what their next step was going to be. And so I challenge you to not let this life pass you by without walking your authentic purpose and truly taking the time to do the hard work. Now, will it be easy? Absolutely not. But will it be worth it? It absolutely will. So first of all, I want to take a moment to thank John Lewis and thank Jennifer for this phenomenal opportunity to come and speak to each of you. What I would say is that Tilt is available for purchase on Amazon. Certainly just look Google and for Tilt and you will find it. And certainly if you want a signed copy, please do reach out to our team. We're happy also to provide signed copies. With that said, I will say that more so, as much as I love the book sales part of Tilt, what I really enjoy more about Tilt is the impact that it's going to make on professionals' lives and entrepreneurs' lives. And so whether you are just starting your career or whether you're 20 years in, there is something in this book for everyone. And we have such a diverse array of leaders who are featured in the book, from people in the C-suite to people who have started in corporate America and then started their own business, to individuals who are just starting out on their journey in corporate America. So with that said, please, if you do purchase Tilt, please and read it, please leave a review. We really appreciate reviews, share feedback, and then connect with me on LinkedIn. I am someone who is very engaged with my audience, so I would love to connect with each of you on LinkedIn at Monica McCoy, and really would love to engage with you on some of the key things that you learned and some of the strategies that you took away. Finally, we are excited to be coming to many different organizations. So if you want to bring us to come and speak to your team and do a workshop, we are happy to come and do a workshop with you and your team on really strategies for shifting the odds in your favor for professional success. So with that said, once again, my name is Monica McCoy. I am the founder of Monica Motivates Enterprise and the author of Tilt Strategies to Shift the Odds in Your Favor for Career Success. And we really do look forward to engaging with each of you, whether virtually or in person.